Hey, good afternoon everybody. This is Justin coming to you guys from LSM, Learn Study Master. And today, since it's 2020, I figure we'll go ahead and get started off with a good old what's in my backpack review. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, is I also work, so in addition to going to school, I've always worked while going to school, I don't always use the best backpacks. Specifically for school, I use it for multiple purposes. And so this one exactly we'll be talking about is the Targus backpack. Now, is it the best school backpack? No, but because I also travel, it's a pretty sturdy, lot of cushion, and gives me a lot of options there. So when I do have to carry some work content or other laptops, it's pretty helpful there. So just be mindful of that. But overall, decent backpack. But I think the most important stuff is really what's inside and what I use it for. So why don't we get ahead and get started here is obviously it comes with two different options to hold your drinks. One's actually smaller than the other, so be mindful of that. I commonly use one thing as some form of a water bottle. I usually go with either like a Yeti or something that maintains the liquid a lot colder. I'm a big fan of cold drinks. Don't know why. Just feels a lot better. If I can be next to an ice machine, that is where I will be. So this is one. It's a Hugo Boss. I actually received this from a client of mine, and so it was kind of nice. Works really well. Keeps the liquid cold. And then for those of you who are actually more of coffee drinkers, sorry to say, is Starbucks is my go-to drink. I always usually carry some form of a Red Bull with me. As they say, is Red Bull gives you wings, and by far is a true statement. I've used this to be successful in doing multiple late nights and long-term studies, overnights, multiple days no sleep. So I'm gonna stick with what works, and what works best is, as you guys can tell, the Red Bull for sure. Now, I don't usually go to the 16 ounce, just be mindful of that. I usually try to stick with the 8s, but sometimes I do carry 2 of these if I know it's going to be a late night. So I do try to stick with the 8 ounces, just some form of, taking care of myself as best as it can be. And now, if we actually go into the backpack, there's 3 or 4 options that really comes with you. You've got a small one in the front here. It's got a couple of small pockets. You've got a medium size on here, and then you also have your 2 large one options for different here that come in here. So I took the content out of what I put in here. My apologies, but got my ibuprofen here. Always standard. Don't need. Never know when you're gonna get a headache. Carry some form of assortment of pens. It differs depending on what I'm doing. Currently what I've been doing has been trying out some of the Sharpie pens just because I've had some pretty good sales recently, and so been just giving a test, see how they go. So, I'll let you guys know. Maybe I'll do another video on that. Carry some of that. Always carry at least 4 highlighters. Being in school, as always knows, or work, you never want to highlight key information. At least 1 eraser. I've got my 5 and my 7 for different types of mechanical pencil lead. Now, for the eraser here, I use the eraser, the high polymer eraser from Pentel. Now, is this the best one? No, especially not if you're drawing. I've got some of those nice, little clay version ones were 10 times better. However, for the price that you get for the large amount and how well they work, especially with different versions, it's excellent. The only issue I kind of have with these is if you write something in pencil first, like you do a little sketch and then you go over with marker or some form of highlighter, these things notoriously keep some form of ink on them. Even after it's been dry, I don't know why. You can actually, honestly, if you can see it here, but kind of right there, yeah, see that green? It just, some reason, just likes to keep it on there. And even if you go through, I have an eraser kind of knife that goes through, you can kind of scrape off some of the content just to make sure it's better, but just notorious. However, they work fantastic. You can get a ton of them for a cheap price. They work really well. They're sturdy, in the backpack. You don't have to worry about things like if you had any of those old maroon or body colored ones, the pink ones, just don't have the same kind of issue. So that's where I like to use these. And then finally is my core pen selection here. Now, one thing is also I'm in recent years a big proponent of reusing just waste products, and so I won't go out and buy new pen holders or stuff like that. I'll use stuff from things I ordered. So this was actually from Riptone, some workout product I bought. I think it's actually for some form of glove or wrist straps to hold weight along those lines. And so instead of throwing it away and putting more waste in landfill, I reused it for the pens. Works really well. It's really sturdy since it is for workout equipment. Gets in there. And this one I've already been using for over a year, and it works pretty well. So now the types of pens that are in here. See? We'll start with pencils. Here's just my standard Zebra. Become a fan of Zebra products lately. Partly it's just because from my hand, like, they just fit really well. Again, my apologies here for these videos, guys. I have to go back and check why it's doing that. But they just fit in my hand. I kind of get some cramps every once in a while. They fit, they're smooth, they're kind of strong as being from the steel material or aluminum material. And so, like, this is the M301, which is the 5.0 mechanical pencil. Yeah, like I said, big fan of it. Works really well, especially with details. I use this a lot more when I'm doing my sketching, like the detail sketches, or if I'm doing high quality notes and I want to put form of design or those, I use this one. Then I have my old school 7.0 pen here. Great for shading, good for mass notes, that kind of stuff. It overall works really well. Get another sturdy pen. It's not the best for details, especially if you're trying to get into some kind of complex drawing or those things, but it works. Also, I do have another thing, is this one does seem to, for some reason, get stuck in like the little mesh in my bag for some reason. So again, it's been kind of neutralized being in this package here, but for some reason, don't know what it is. I think it's because the length of the pen is longer. So next two ones are two additional Zebra pens. This one is the G301. So this is your gel version. Works really well when you write notes fast. Works good in most traditional notebooks. However, it does kind of seep through or sticks to other pages if you don't let it dry. So sometimes that can be a challenge, but it also writes super smooth, which is an equal amount of ink in most certain types of papers. I do notice you'll have some issues if you like high definition or color printables. So you get into that higher grade of like 120s, GSM, some of those. Those start to be an issue. The next one here is the 301. But it's the BP version, or F301. F301 is your standard ballpoint pen. Overall, like I said, simple thing is again, strong and sturdy, easy for writing notes. It does get stuck on some of the higher 90s and pluses, 120s, 250s, 280s. For some reason, it does get a little stuck. But your traditional graph paper, those, excellent for notes. It's quick and easy. You can replace the ink pads super quick, and they're cheap on Amazon. So just a good go-to pen. Now, one of my newest favorite type of pens that I've seemed to have been using lately is just, it writes so good. Like, I like the feeling of it. It's very precise. It's clean. It covers as the Precise V5. They've got like a really sharp needlepoint pen. I don't know if it's going to show it in there. There we go. But just the amount of ink comes out. It's very good. It's smooth transition. There's not a different coloring. I've got red and black. Red, black, and blue, but it just works well, and it actually works pretty well in most of the finer GSM papers I've used thus far. However, again, going back to the color one, that's where you will start to see some smudging and smearing, and if you don't take care of these pens and they get beat up a lot, they will leak, but other than that, really good option here. It's one of my newest favorite ones I like to use. And then the last ones here are, you'll see, is I've got three colors. You've got your red, your black, and your blue. And these are your finite pens. So these are kind of like your alternative to your Sharpies. So the one thing is they do bleed more than the Sharpies so far, the ones I've tested. However, the ink consistency, the color, so if you talk about like saturation or shading, it comes out clear. You can usually a little bit be more rough on it, so if you want to make thicker lines, works really well. Another thing I like about them is these ones so far versus the Sharpie ones I've had don't leak inside. I haven't had any of them leak. And so it's been fantastic. So these have become a big fan. Again, the only issue is they do smudge, they do smear through it. There's a lot amount of ink. If you've ever heard about feathering, so when you first put your pen down, if you've been using a lot, you will see a good amount of ink starting to fill up on that page. So that's just something to be mindful of. All right, great. So I'm gonna put this stuff away here, and then we'll... Now in the second pocket that I mentioned here, the second one. This is where I keep most of my large materials, my chargers for the laptop. You'll see here my electronics bag, ruler, and Sharpies. Now, quickly, is I always carry a pack of Sharpies. I don't know if you've gone to the library or a client site or whatever. There's no one ever has extra Sharpies for some reason. They're always missing. So I get your standard, black, red, blue, green. You always have it, never have to worry about it. I'm a big fan of whiteboards, so this is something you always like to have on hand. These are the mini versions, but they still work, so always have that around. Traditional, keep your ruler there. Always a good option. You never know you're going to need it, especially for those who like to create crazy notes. So it's something to also be useful of. I also have some other protractors or other shape stencils I bring around every once in a while, so I'll show those next. But this isn't the only option. This is just here because, it's good. It works. Simple. And it was free. Now, one thing here is this is where I keep most of my basic electronic stuff I need for it. As we all know, technology and everything we use for our phones and laptops and iPads and notebooks, it's crazy. So I purchased this. It's called a BUBM. It's the mini version. They have, or it's the medium version. They have 3: a small, medium, and large. The large is pretty big and took up a lot of room, so I went with this first. And I have to say, I'm actually pretty impressed. So I've been using this one for 2 years now. I even got an extended warranty on it. It was pretty cheap during the holiday season when I did get it. But it's held up strong. I put it to the ringer. It goes with me wherever I go, and it's really got a good amount of space that you can do stuff with, which we'll actually talk about here. So one thing as you open it up is there's 2 spots. Okay, so you've got your first one here and your second one here for some of the bigger items. Now, I won't go through everything here simply because of timing and great detail, but high level I will go through some of the content here. First thing is I always keep a secondary battery for my phones. You never know when you're going to need it. And so that's where this is. It's my traditional iPhone charger. It comes in here as well as the wall socket plug. This is a cord for my external monitor, which I use quite often when I go places. So it's always good to have that available. I've got my 2. I use the Surface Pro currently right now. I have an iPad, but just lately just been using the Surface Pro simply because of convenience. So that's also here. I've got 2 different cords. One you'll notice will go to actually something we'll talk about later. This is for my headphones to charge them. And this one is specifically for my external Wi-Fi device. You never know you're gonna need Wi-Fi, especially since I work, that comes in handy. Now that a lot of companies and schools and locations where I go to have different forms of outputs, you never know you're gonna do an HDMI or a VHMI. And so depending on where you are, you always need an adapter of some sort. So I've got my traditional one that goes into my laptop as well into my Surface Pro. And that was one thing I actually struggled with, is when my Surface Pro didn't fit with a lot of the adapters. And so I had multiple adapters. And if you get too many adapters, and if you guys all know what happens is power consumption issues. So then that doesn't work, right? Now, here is basically just some simple stuff. This here is the different forms of little pins that can go into these here. So like if I wanted to go in and write something small, thick, wide, different colors, this is what I would use here. So I keep that available just in case. By the way, you use 4A batteries, and that's a pain in the ass sometimes when you don't pay attention to grabbing new batteries. I've got some traditionally, I go 16 gig mini bytes jump drives, just in case you ever need it here. I've got 2 of them. Usually keep these for some certain classes. Something there that's challenging, something that I really need to keep separate, don't want to mix stuff up. And then the old school plug-in earphones. Next we come over to here, one issue is if you have a licensed library and you can't reach any of the plugs for your iPhone charger. I have an extended long version of the iPhone charger. It works fantastic. It's one of the durable ones. No issues, love it. Great for long distances. I think it's actually almost 5 feet. Then I keep the mother of all mothers, my external hard drive. You never know when you need it. It's over 1 terabyte of information. It's from Toshiba. Comes with the warranty. It was great. Still using it. Use it for some of the videos as well while I'm working on it there. But it's great. And then it also comes here with its adapter to plug into any of the computers that you need for transferring data files over or videos or whatnot. Then another one is another adapter. This is the king of adapters, if you like to call it. It comes in multiple options from your HDMI to your Ethernet to your jump drive for USB ports. So it's just a good option to have, and it works with specifically for my Surface Pro, and so that's helpful. Now we'll go into some of the big stuff here. Is what do I keep is one, obviously my mouse. Everyone needs an electronic mouse. Then this is my charger for my Surface Pro. My main one for the laptop is actually in the backpack. Here's the Wi-Fi device that I use, using it through Verizon's, the 4G Jetpack. Now, if you're gonna stream videos, not gonna really work, but if you need to log on, do some, take a test, do some study notes, works really well. And then I have my headsets. Now, these are pretty good deal. I got these on Amazon as well, and they're specials like $10. Great for just listening in, Bluetooth connection. I already showed you that charger earlier that I use for, can plug either into a wall adapter or into your laptop, but really good. Go running with these, use these for school. They've also got a speaker, so if you need to speak and have a conversation, you can. It does cut out most of the noise. Little adapters are great, however I do lose these quite often, dang it. So that's one of the things I do struggle with, is keeping these on hand, but really works well. All right, so that's the ones that are in the medium size, and now we'll move on to the next two big ones. All right, so now in the second package, right here, and the second large one here, it specifically says laptops. I don't use that one. It says that, but I actually like it here. It seems to work better with my sitting in with my back. So anyway, so the second one is carry different forms of notepads or notebooks with me. One of my good favorite ones I just like to, this isn't the only one I have one of the white line options, but I like to use that more for specific situations. But the standard graphic one, your standard 9x7, really good, fits in there, doesn't cause any issues, and so I try to get other books that's similar in size, that way it doesn't cause any bendage or issues. But you can see here, it's already got some notes from there. But it fits well. I like this notepad. The graph composition works well. For some of us who don't have the best handwriting, who works on their handwriting, you've got good margins, you've got good spacing between upper and lowercase letters. Plus graphic paper, I just think it looks interesting and cool. So then you've got your old school standard standard composition book. These are nothing super special, however, they are pretty sturdy. They last a long time. Excuse me. And they're just good for taking basic notes. These are really well with the non-gel ballpoint pen. The gel ones, they will do will do a little bit of smearing, versus this one where it does a lot of smearing. For some reason, when I use that gel pen here, so you gotta be a little more careful. A little more flexibility. This one does have something to do with the paper, but this one works as well with both the Zebra different type of pens, or the ball and gel types. And then the last one I have here is just a traditional notebook box, so I keep my notes or information into it. But what I also do is, I don't know if you guys can actually be able to see it with this lens of the view, is I do create my own note paper just to make sure. And so let's see if you guys can actually see it. I think you can. So I create my own dotted line paper here. And that's the reason is I can control spacing and the sizes of it. Let's see here. I only created a video of how I showed you guys. I created this, turned to a PDF, printed off myself, and then I can control it, do 3-hole punching, whatever it is. But it's really nice that I can kind of have that option, and so that's what I keep in here, as well as in your additional notes. And that's what's in that section. And then the final sections are ones we've already talked about. One, I talked about it, my Surface Pro. Got a red keyboard on it. Works pretty well, honestly. It's not the newest version. This is about 2 years old. However, it does work overall pretty good, except for battery life. I do think it's faster than my iPad, which I do have the iPad Pro as well, which is the newest version. For some reason, this does seem to go faster. However, there aren't as many options. Like if you do any of the note apps or that stuff, the battery life isn't anywhere near as good as the iPad. But lately, just been working, especially it's been easier to use from conversion from Windows from some of the other classes I have. Honestly, some of the conversions from Citrix and some of those have made issues, even if I did bring the iPad. So because of that, usually when I start off, just makes it simple to use the good Surface Pro. And then finally, and last but not least, which is probably not the best option I did, is I have purchased my new laptop for the year. I do have another one, which was the HP. But I purchased Lenovo. I'm a big Lenovo fan. Their products, the laptops just work and they work well. I used them for work in the past. They're just behemoths. They can run on multiple programs and multiple times. They're just great workhorses. So I purchased one. I bought one of the advanced Legion models, which is also good for gaming or investing, which I do quite a bit of from the investing side. So I got the Legion 17-inch. What I didn't realize is I saw the weight, and it's actually very, very big. Like it is a monster, and it's heavy and it's huge and takes up a lot of space. So I don't bring this quite as often unless I'm going to be at school or in the office all day. But overall, the performance of the Legion has been fantastic. This is currently what I use. It does everything. It's got all adaptabilities. It's great for any of the different USB ports, if you like USB-C, any of those. And just the overall great performance of the laptop. I'll do a separate review about how it works and some of the issues I've had and the good things about it, but that is what I'm currently using this for. And I'm pretty pleased with overall this and as the Surface Pro. I'll also do another one talking about the iPad at a later date, but like I said, recently this is what I've been using. And so starting off 2020 right, I want to share with you guys what I've been doing, the tools and the products that I have, what's been working well for me so that you guys can go and make a decision, test them out yourself. And then I look forward to seeing what everyone's thoughts are. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks again, guys, and take care.